What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Hopefully you had a good game week 1. Here's how my team did the first week. 85 points, a rank of 150k. For today's video, I think it will be useful to talk about the FPL options that I've selected as well as their team as a whole. This video won't contain too much in-depth transfer planning because we do just have one game week of data to work on, and hopefully you picked your team in a way where you still trust your picks somewhat even if they didn't look amazing the first week, or maybe they looked good but they just didn't score you points. These are the sort of players that we shouldn't really be thinking about transferring out yet. Let's just sort of give them another week because who knows, maybe their matchup was tougher than it looks on paper at the moment, so we'll see. At the moment, I'm not planning on making any transfers next week, but we will probably discuss that more in tomorrow's video. If you enjoy the content, consider liking and subscribing. So let's get into it, and keep in mind that this has only been one game week so far, so don't overreact to everything. You know, I wouldn't advise bringing in Jeff Hendrick, for example. So the goalkeeper McCarthy, nothing's really changed here. He had a solid chance to keep him a clean sheet, but he failed. It's going to happen sometimes. He is only a 4.5 keeper, and given how he looked, it's definitely not worth a transfer out for me. SAISS was really a big hitter here. So the biggest thing about SAISS that I could say could be replicable in the future is the fact that he did get forward a lot. Obviously, he's been a threat in the box for like last season as well in terms of scoring headers, which is what he scored. But there was that one counterattack where he gets forward and he actually hits the post. And he also had another shot as well from a corner. But it's just good to see him getting forward so much. Hopefully that continues. I'm not really expecting it to, but it would be great if it did. And it's good to see that he does have some quality going forward and he can take a shot. Overall, he looked great in the game, by the way. Good defender. Bali, him, and Cody are all very underrated in my opinion. Wolves, good defensive options. Once game week 3 hits, I will probably have triple Wolves at some point, maybe game week 4, because they have great fixtures from there on. So I'm looking at maybe like SAISS and Cody and Jimenez. That's probably a likely combination. Maybe I'll get Marcel in there instead of Cody because he has a little more goal threat. In fact, I think that's probably the way I'd go right now, as long as we know that Marcel isn't a rotation risk. But SAISS, great, perfect. Couldn't have won anything better, that's for sure. So Egan didn't do great, but it's worth noting that Sheffield United looked much better in the second half where they didn't concede any goals. They were playing against Wolves, and Wolves look good. Sometimes Wolves have trouble breaking teams down when they sit deep, but overall, Sheffield United did sort of what I expected. They lost a clean sheet. They did give up 2 goals, which I wasn't happy about, and then the Egan yellow card hurt. But Sheffield United play Aston Villa, Leeds, and then game week 4 is up at 5 is against Fulham. So I don't think it's worth a transfer out to get rid of a Sheffield United player, especially a defender. A lot of people probably have Egan. I think it's a hold. I'm going to start him next week actually over SAISS. That's what I'm planning on because SAISS plays Man City. And as I mentioned, Sheffield United play Aston Villa. And we haven't seen Villa play yet, but I'm hoping that it's going to be an easy matchup. So Trent Alexander-Arnold is probably the one player that if I was to make a transfer, I would take the risk and transfer him out. Do I think it's a great idea? No, it's risky because you probably want to bring him back in at some point. Game week 4, Liverpool's fixtures get good, and then if that's around the time when Liverpool get a little more stability defensively, which is very likely, then by that point, we're looking at the Trent Alexander-Arnold potential for like 12 points and whatnot. And the Leeds game plan just didn't really fit Alexander-Arnold as well in terms of attacking wise. It's important to keep this in mind. Leeds held a high line, so that means it's just long balls over the top to Salah or what have you. It's not like Trent Alexander-Arnold has time to get down the wing and everybody's in the box and he's putting crosses in. It wasn't that kind of game for him. So hopefully we'll see improvement in the future. If you watched my videos in preseason, you know I had a lot of internal debate of whether I should even bring in Alexander-Arnold for the first 3 weeks, but I went with him. It was the safe option. And I'm like, you know, we never really know what to expect. And I think that at 7.5, he is better than like other 7.5 options, like, I don't know, Harvey Barnes, who's only 7 million. But you get the point. So in general, I'm not loving the fact that I picked him, but I think if you have him now, you probably want to keep him. But if you want to go to Digne because they have such a great matchup game week 2 and you want the immediate points, I honestly think that's fine as well. I can't like really blame you for wanting to do that. Salah's great. I was pretty much always going to captain him. Unlucky if you don't have him if you want Mane instead. I mean, me personally, I was always on Salah just because he has better stats, but Mane has started the last couple of seasons better, so I understand if that was your reasoning for picking Mane instead. But keep in mind that like if a team captained Salah this week and if the rest of their players got 2 points, they got 60. So, you know, a lot of variance with just the one player here. So don't get too down on yourself. Even if your team just had an okay week, you don't have Salah, everything's going to look much worse right now. But yeah, Salah's great, obviously. Nothing really to say there. St. Maximin was very wide. No real chance of shots. I mean, he had a couple, but it's not like what I expected. I was sort of hoping for more. But the good news is that Newcastle looked okay. It was a great matchup against West Ham. Overall, I'm not too impressed with St. Maximin from an FPL perspective because he does spend a lot of time out wide. He's not like a winger like Pulisic who really fights to get in the box with a chance for tap-ins when there's a cross coming from the other side. He sort of just stays out wide. So his goal threat is a little low, but he does have some creativity. I think at some point he will probably leave my team because the fixtures will turn pretty poor. But I don't really know who I'd get at that price. I'm not a huge fan of Souček. I don't really want any West Ham players at the moment. And the 5.5 price bracket really hasn't looked great. So we'll see, but he's definitely a hold for me. Not worth a transfer out. Aubameyang looked fine. He's my captain next week. West Ham, great matchup at home. West Ham are in a bit of a turmoil situation right now, so I think he's the number one captain option, I'd say, next week. I think if I had anybody, I'd captain Aubameyang. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the case. So, great option, definitely not a sell. If anything, a transfer in, just for the 1 week if you want to be risky. Son, so he did have some chances. If you go to the ICT rank for midfielders, he's 4th in creativity and 9th for threat, so that's pretty good. He had some shots that were blocked that I thought could have been good if they got through the defenders. 2 good matchups. He's a keep for me. I would not sell him. Some people are thinking about it. I think it's a little bit of overreaction. I mean, I think you also may be underrating the quality of Everton. So look at Everton as just a tough matchup. That first game was tough. Spurs started slow. Is he a great option that I'm going to keep all season? Probably not, but with good fixtures, hey, don't sell somebody before have a good fixture. Let's keep it simple here. Game week 1. So Che Adams looked good. Guaita made a great save on Che Adams. He hit it with power. If Guaita lets that go in, I think nobody really blames him too much. So Che Adams, a little bit unlucky to not score. It's good to see that he played 84 minutes rather than 65. Not bad. Solid fixture against Tottenham, I suppose. If Tottenham do sit deep, maybe Che Adams gets on the end of a cross. Who knows? I'm not expecting a goal next week, but I don't think it's really worth a transfer out because I don't know who I'd get instead. I'm not sold on Bamford yet because his XG was so low last game, as well as the fact that he plays on Leeds. We still don't really know what to expect from him, and that's particularly in regards to who they play at striker. If they start Rodrigo at striker or Bamford at striker, who knows? So I don't think getting Bamford in is worth it, especially at this point. He's already went up in price, so it's a no for me. Again, Adams is a hold, as all these players are pretty much. But again, I'm just sort of explaining why a lot of these transfers out may not be worth it for you. Vern looked good. He does drift around a lot, and that includes him drifting wide sometimes. But typically it's to get the ball where he could create a chance. So yes, maybe potentially less goal potential there, but more assist potential. And he did get fouled in the box, created the penalty, he scored. Overall, he looked fine. He's definitely a keep. Hopefully Chelsea can create more chances in the future, but he did have 5 shots. So I guess I can't really complain there. He's definitely a keep, even though he does have Liverpool. They'll probably be dodgy defensively again with Van Dijk taking things way too casually and Trent getting burnt. So I wouldn't be too surprised if he scores against Liverpool. Not a captaincy option, no. Calvert-Lewin's great. I'm so glad that I was right about this one. Decided to get him in. I just like the quality of team he's in. He's going to get on the end of crosses. And Richarlison just a little more expensive. Richarlison looked great, though. If you have him, unlucky to not get points. Let's not forget, this won't show up in Calvert-Lewin's expected goals or his shots or anything, but there was that one play where Richarlison could have easily squared it across the box to Calvert-Lewin for the tap-in, and he didn't. He simply failed. So Calvert-Lewin could have had another goal there, but this sorts of things will happen. The one he scored, he's not always going to get either, so 8 points. Very happy with that from Calvert-Lewin. I wasn't expecting that game week 1. I was more getting him for game week 2, the great matchup this week. So in general, that's what I think about the players. As you can see, there's just not enough evidence right now. You picked everybody you picked for a reason. There's not going to be enough evidence to really get rid of players unless it's somebody like Havertz, where the only real data we have is him playing deep. So there's really nothing to suggest otherwise. Whereas somebody like Son, we have evidence of him scoring, 10, 15 goals a season with 15 assists. So it's like he's probably going to get back to that mean, and he probably just had a bad game week the first game week, as well as seeing some shots on target and stuff like that. So that's sort of the difference there. Here's my team for next week. I'll briefly show it again. I'll probably make a video about this tomorrow. So SAISS on the bench, just because of the Man City matchup. Captaincy here is between Aubameyang and Calvert-Lewin. Now that I think more about it, I'm sort of like, okay, Aubameyang scored once against Fulham, and now he's got West Ham. the argument could be made that those are like pretty similar matchups, right? Like it's not like, oh, now he's got a great matchup. Well, he had one last week as well. But he's still a more reliable option, I suppose, in Calvert-Lewin just because he's done it in seasons past. But Calvert-Lewin West Brom at home could be an option to go with here because last week was a tough matchup against Spurs and he still looked okay, had some chances to score. Now with this easy matchup, you're like, okay, could he do even more than he did last week? Whereas Aubameyang, you sort of get the point I'm making here. But it's worth noting that West Ham are in a bit of turmoil right now. And also West Brom, this will be their second game since being promoted. So maybe they'll be a little more comfortable. And also Arsenal are just a little more reliable in terms of they've sort of established themselves as a good team. Whereas Everton have just made signings. And now they're trying to show it. And there could be some inconsistencies there. So I think I'll stick with Aubameyang captaincy just to be safe here. But if you want to go Calvert-Lewin, that's cool with me too. Anyway, new video should be out tomorrow as well. Hopefully you had a good week. If not, try not to do anything too rash. Anyway, I will see you next time.
Ain't no cap in my crowd. Ain't no cap in my crowd. Presto.